We know that every second counts during a medical emergency, but a Bronx man in cardiac arrest had to wait nearly 20 minutes before paramedics arrived. After his death, his father learned multiple available units were just down the block. So why weren't they dispatched? Investigative reporter Mahsa Saeidi looks into the system that kept the first responders in the dark.
They had the people that could have saved Nick, and their bureaucracy and procedures didn't allow for that help to be sent.
Tyler Weaver's 24-year-old son, Nick Costello, died in December of 2023. After a night out with friends in the Bronx, Costello collapsed at Emily Levy's apartment. It's 5:08 a.m.
Every second felt like an eternity.
He just passed out. You need to get here now.
Okay. He's unconscious now?
I think it might be an asthma attack. The kid's turning blue.
EMS records show the dispatcher upgrades the incident to a cardiac arrest.
Ryan, we're not very certified in CPR, sir. Can you walk me through it?
Utilizing computer-aided dispatch, or CAD, the dispatcher searches for nearby available crews. Online, none show up, but in reality, less than 500 feet away, multiple first responders were at the scene of a fire, including records show at least 10 ambulances. While those paramedics were on standby with 0 patients, Costello's friends were waiting.
Watching the literal lights leave his eyes.
Sir, do we have an update?
19 minutes after the call for help, paramedics and EMTs coming from across town arrived by Costello's side. They rushed him to the hospital.
My wife and I were both holding his hand and talking to him, just letting him know that we loved him. I think that was the biggest thing that we wanted him to know. Yeah.
After Costello's death, Weaver filed a complaint with the FDNY. He wanted to know why EMS members at the scene of the fire did not respond to his son.
If they were informed that there was a cardiac arrest happening behind them, I have no doubt that they would have helped.
Weaver says FDNY officials have not answered his question. They declined to answer ours, too, and said a department spokesperson only saying, quote, reducing response times is critically important, and the FDNY is constantly evaluating procedures and technology. New York City Council member Joanne Ariola chairs the Fire and Emergency Management Committee.
The current system does not allow dispatchers to take offline ambulances and put them back on.
So dispatch wouldn't have been able to communicate with the crews that were at the scene of the fire?
Correct, because the CAD system would not allow it.
The current CAD system that we're working with is about 30-plus years old.
Last November, FDNY's EMS chief said a replacement was in the works, but he gave no timeline.
At a major fire, a floor can collapse, a roof can collapse.
How do we make sure that the fire is covered and neighborhoods are covered?
We need to add additional ambulances.
The president of EMS's union, Orrin Barzilay, says staffing is the problem. He says as a precaution, crews had to remain on standby on that night in December. One patient was treated on scene. Costello's dad says his death resulted from the fire, too, the smoke triggering a fatal asthma attack.
Literally right there, my building is directly across.
Levy shows us how close they were that night to paramedics and potentially life-saving help.
This is my shortcut that I've been using my whole life. I can't even walk up these steps anymore this whole past year. I take the long way.
So there was an internal investigation after Nick Costello's death. Investigators found that the dispatchers followed all current policies and procedures, but they also said the department should consider making changes so that resources could be directed from a fire to a cardiac arrest if needed. We asked the FDNY if they made that change or any change, and Christine, they ignored that question.
They could have walked there faster, just looking at the distance between the two emergencies. So it took them 19 minutes for a crew to arrive. What is the average response time for these calls?
So right now the average is less than 9 minutes, about 8 minutes and 48 seconds. It's been going up every single year, and officials blame congestion that we hear so much about, hospital closures, and so on.
And a 30-year-old system.
Yeah.
Okay, Mahsa, thank you for bringing all of that to our attention. Very important topic. By the way, Mahsa is an attorney and a former prosecutor. If there is something that you would like for her to look into, you can contact her by scanning the QR code there on your screen.